Welcome to part 2 of Simplicity's S9480 SewAlong. I encourage you to watch the tutorials listed on the following slides prior to starting this SewAlong to either refresh your memory or to learn the sewing skill mentioned in order to complete this SewAlong, or watch it when it comes up in the tutorial itself. So it's your choice. I do my SewAlongs this way. I'm sorry, my dog, to ensure a win-win scenario. You get a full SewAlong with step-by-step sewing instructions, and I avoid the tedious task of editing a sewing technique like installing an invisible zipper over and over and over again. The steps doesn't change no matter the garment, so recording and editing it only one time is really all it takes. Here's what we'll be covering in today's video. Casings. If you need help with that skill or just need a refresher, click the link at the top of the screen. Lastly, if you're new to sewing or just need a refresher, check out my free Sewing Basics video series by clicking the link at the top of your screen. If you already know how to do my SewAlongs and videos, and if you'll be kind enough to watch at least one ad should it appear, which enables me to keep bringing you free content, feel free to skip ahead to go straight to the pattern spotlight. Skip ahead to the 4-minute 35-second mark. Here's a little bit about how I do my Sew With Me SewAlongs.
Techniques, I'm going to put it on the website, and I will reference it in the SewAlong itself. So for example, we're working on a pair of pants that has a fly front. So when we get to that portion in the SewAlong, I'll do a little bit of it, in instructions in the SewAlong itself, but then I'm going to refer you over to the website to go ahead and look at that video, that particular video, look it over, study it, do your own sample if you want, because I'm big on that technique binder. So go ahead and and do that, and then once you get a good hang of what that technique is, then come back onto the SewAlong itself and do that particular technique with the SewAlong. So that way we both kind of benefit. You still get the instruction of the actual SewAlong, step by step of how to do a particular thing. But it's less editing on my part because, like I said, I'll mention it in the SewAlong itself, but then I'll refer you over to the website to actually find that particular technique, and go ahead, review it, look at it. And then once you master it or enough to where even SewAlong, at the same time, and install it in that particular SewAlong that you're doing at that time. So hopefully that will be okay for you, because I think I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone for watching my videos. I love to upload the videos. I love to share my knowledge. And I'm pretty sure that you guys love to get free content. So in order for me to keep uploading free content, I just need you to do some simple things for me, some very simple things. The first thing is just to hit the subscribe button. So just make sure that you hit that. So you're subscribed to my channel. Hit the notification bell so when I upload a new video, you don't miss out and you get to see it. And then also, if there's an ad on my videos, they're typically anywhere from 10 seconds to maybe up to 2 minutes. Just go ahead and either watch it or do something else you want to do in those in that particular time that ad is running. So use the restroom, go get something to drink or something like that. Because that way, if you let that ad run, I benefit from YouTube, and that way I can still keep creating content and uploading it for free. Okay. Enough of that boring stuff. Back to the SewAlong. Please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. Thanks again, and keep on watching. Okay, so moving on. So you're going to take number 2, and it's going to be right side facing your bodice, okay? And you're going to match up the side seams, basically, okay? And you have 2 notches on the side seam. You want to match those up. Pen, and just in case the top of it overlaps this armhole, remember we pressed it under, you may have to open up that armhole, okay? Because you don't want to sew over top of that. So once you pin at your notches, pin at the bottom and pin at the top. Now once you have everything pinned on your side seams, you're going to start at the bottom and sew your way all the way up, stopping about 1 inch away from your folded edge on your back pattern piece. Okay, so you sew all the way up, stopping about 1 inch from the top of basically your casing. Okay, and you're going to do that on both sides. All right, back from the sewing machine, and just take note that I have not finished this raw edge yet because this is still open and we still have to do the casing. Okay, so I have not finished that raw edge as of yet. So moving on, you're going to need pattern piece number 9. So go ahead and get that and come back. All right, so you should have pattern piece number 9. You should have made 4, cut out 4. None of it's going to be interfaced. So you're going to pick one that's going to have your buttonholes. So on the wrong side, you want to fuse fusible interfacing over top where your buttonholes are going to be, okay? Once you do that, go ahead and make your buttonholes at the sewing machine. Once you do that, then I want you to come back and sew the side seams at your 5/8 seam allowance. Okay, basically they just call this your casing, but I'm going to change up the wordings just to make it easier to understand. So the one that you have your buttonholes on, we're going to call that your waistband, okay? And then the ones that do not have the buttons, we're going to call that your waistband casing, okay? Or waistband facing, I'm sorry. We're going to call that your waistband facing. So you made your buttonholes, you did your side seams on your waistband. On your waistband facing, you should have had, didn't take my markings out of here. You should have had one side that had 2 dots on it right here, like that. All right. And so what you're going to do on that side, you are going to start at one end, back, go up to that first circle or notch, however you did it, back stitch, and then cut your threads, go to your second notch, back stitch, and go to the top. So basically what you're doing is leaving an opening in the middle, okay, on that one side. And then on the other side, just sew it straight at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, okay? So go ahead and do that and come back. Okay, I know I said that I was going to refer to one as the waistband, one as the waistband facing, but I'm going to defer to how they said in the instructions because I don't want to confuse you. So the one with the buttonholes, we're going to call that the casing, okay? And the one without, we're going to call that the facing or casing facing. That's hard. It's funny to say casing facing or just facing. We'll just say facing, okay? All right, so back from the sewing machine, as you can see, I did my buttonholes. I did put some fray check on there and let that sit for a little bit. And then I opened my buttonholes. I sewed the side seams at 5/8, and that is for the casing. For the casing facing, all right, sewed one side at the 5/8, and then the other side where you had the 2 circles, how that looks, because you do leave an opening here. You back stitch at the beginning and end at each one of those sections and leave that open. All right, so now we want to put them, oh, so before I do that, I'm not going to I'm not going to finish the edges, but I am going to cut them down. And I'm not going to finish them because they're going to be enclosed within each other, but I am going to cut them down by half, just for bulk purposes, to save bulk. All right. All right, so now what we're going to do is put them wrong sides together. And so in essence, what you're doing is you're making sure that the right side is on both sides. Okay, so on the outside, you'll be able to see the right side of the fabric, and on the inside, you will see the right side of the fabric. Okay, no wrong sides will be shown. You're going to put wrong sides together, matching any notches you have. You know, see, that's a notch. So matching any notches you have and matching your side seams. All right, go ahead and do that and come back. And you should be pinning all the way around too.
Okay, so in this portion, I lost my audio, so I'm doing a voiceover. So here I'm just showing you that I had pinned it all the way around. And now I'm showing you that from both raw edges, from the top and the bottom, you're going to sew a scant 5/8. So me, I did a 1/2 inch, and you're going to do that all the way around. And when you do that, come back.
Did a scant 5/8, which basically for me was a 1/2 inch from the raw edge, the top and the bottom. Now they want you to do 2 more rows, right, of stitching, so you'll be able to make your 3 rows of casings. So if I take a 1/4 inch, that's right here, and I made a little mark. Okay, now from that mark down to the stitching line that they want us to have, the very first stitching line here, that's 3/4 of an inch. So from each raw edge, from the line that I sewed, I'm going to sew at 3/4 of an inch from this top, from the top stitch line down 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to turn it, and from this side raw edge, from where I stitch, there we go, from where I stitched at, going to go down 3/4 of an inch and stitch along that. And so I'll have 2 rows there of stitch lines. In essence, it'll be 1 casing, 2 casing, 3 casings. Okay, so when it's all said and done, you should have a casing that looks like this. Okay, should have buttonholes here, scant 5/8 on both sides of the raw edge, and then you're going to come in approximately 3/4 of an inch from each side of that stitch line. So in essence, you made 1 casing here, 1 casing here, and 1 casing here. The outside obviously is the right side, and then the inside will also be the right side as well. My fabric looks the same, but just in case yours doesn't, both sides, once you flip it, will be the right side. Okay, so hopefully yours look like that. All right, so you would need your bodice. Okay, you're just looking at the bottom of my bodice here, and you're going to need your casing. All right, so the way the instructions tell you to do it is to actually look on the inside, and I'm gonna do it this way because this is the way I'm used to doing it. So hopefully it still work out right. So basically look at it like it's going to be worn, okay, so it doesn't confuse you. Everything is on the outside. Your buttonholes are facing you, facing up. Now, when you sew it, you're going to sew it like this. Basically, all I'm doing is putting right side to right side. Okay, so now you cannot see the buttonholes because it's right side to right side, and it'll be all the way around, right? So once you stitch it and then you press it back out, it'll look like that. Okay. And so like I said, the instructions are telling you to work from the inside, but this is the way I know, so I'm just going to do it this way. Okay, so basically put right sides to right side. Okay, and you're going to match up any notches you have at the bottom, and then match up your side seams as well. And once you do that, you're going to pin all the way around, and then you're going to sew at a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So it should be right past that first stitch line that we had, because remember that was the skein 5/8. So you're going to sew at a 5/8 seam allowance all the way around, and then you're going to come back and do within the seam allowance a 1/4 inch away. Okay, and that's just to reinforce it, because there will be a lot of pressure on this particular portion of the garment. And then finish the raw edge how you see fit. So zigzag or serge. I will be serging mine. So go ahead and do that and come back. All right, so back from the sewing machine and the serger. All right, so remember, I did the first stitch line at 5/8. First stitch line at 5/8. Then within that, the seam allowance did at a 1/4 inch away from that 5/8 stitch line. And then I just serged my ends. I actually trimmed my ends first, and then I serged it. I just always do that just in case I mess up with the serger. Can't get that one back. So I just trim it first and just serge it without taking anything else off. All right, and so this is what yours should look like. All righty. Get it orientated for you. So this is the front. Let's see what the shoulder straps. And so what you want to do is now press the casing away from the bodice, okay? And you want the seam allowance of the casing pressed toward the bodice, okay? So just go ahead and make sure that the seam allowance is toward the bodice, and of course your casing is away from your bodice, and then just go ahead and give that a good press. Here I'm working from the inside and pressing the seam allowance toward the bodice. Oops. You can see that. And it's all pressed. If you made this pattern or intend to, or if you're going to follow along with me, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. Thanks again for watching, and happy sewing.